ChatGPT and Claude AI feel like they are part of our day-to-day now. Hundreds of thousands of millions of everyone is using them. But what fascinates me the most is that so many people are using these programs completely wrong. This video is going to teach you how to use them correctly. I'm Gina. I've spent the last 20 years building startups, and the growth of AI has really lowered the barrier of entry to building anything by yourself, especially on the side of a full-time job, and especially for less risk and cost than ever. If you want to start your own thing, subscribe, because this channel teaches you everything you need to know about business setups in Notion, tools, systems, AI, and other ways in which you can start and launch your own business all the way to $100,000. So this video is going to be 5 different ways you can take your prompts from where they are now to getting much better outputs and results. And number 3 is quite mind-blowing. It completely revolutionizes the way that AI will give you information back, and it actually means that you don't ever have to hire anyone new for your startup. And the 5th one is one that you might know, but actually the hack I'm going to give you as to how to use it will make you feel like you've unlocked a whole new level of technology. I have a paid for ChatGPT, and even with the Pro plan, I feel like some of the responses are lazy, for want of a better word. Some of the responses are taking the easy way out and looking at the most recent data set and responding with the fastest, essentially dumbest one, because this is a business and it is saving costs. By addressing the latest data and the surface line data, there's less processing than the product has to do. That's why sometimes when you're using a large language model, you have to ask a question several times. You have to tell it it's wrong. You have to keep going back. The first output is never that good because the default is to use as little as the product as possible. And so the data that is analyzed is a small section as possible. So the first entry level to getting better results from any LLM you're using is to actually add on to the end of anything you are asking, think hard about this. What this means is that the AI will consider both second order effects of what you are asking, but also look at more data than the first amount readily available. It refines the output so your first output will be far more usable. Now the second one is also going to stop you from having the pain of those bad outputs. What I often find when I ask a question or I put in a prompt is that the response is an information overload. You can ask AI a simple 2-word prompt and it will come back with reams and reams of information. The large language model is simply taking instructions, looking at data, and then predicting what to spit out. And it doesn't have any barriers around the length of response or the amount of information. So often you will ask something simple, and instead of getting a few bullet points or a concise response, you get essentially a download of all of the data that it has sorted through in order to predict what you need. It's so frustrating, especially when it's formatted in a really unreadable way. That's why the way to make your prompts better is to introduce verbosity control. This is where you control the output length or format with specific power phrases that make sure you are just getting the right amount of information and not creating extra work for yourself. So for quick updates, you are going to add to the end of your prompt, give me the bottom line in 100 words or less. For things like a project brief, you are going to add to the bottom of your prompt, provide a comprehensive breakdown of 600 to 800 words. For clear-cut information responses, you're going to add the prompt, give me the key points needed in simple bullet points. And for formatting, you are always going to ask for Markdown, so you can copy it directly into where you are working, which should be Notion. By adding this verbosity control onto your prompts, you will not only get far better outputs, you will also get far less back and forths, which not only costs the environment, but it also means that your time is more efficiently used with one prompt and one response. Okay, so number 3, my absolute favorite, the absolute golden child of this entire video. This is where we almost cross into prompt engineering territory. One of the best things that AI and growth in technology has done for small businesses, startups, and people starting something by themselves is mean that instead of spending thousands and thousands of dollars on experts or consultants or outsourcing to an agency, we can now have access to information like never before. We can also outsource tasks, skills, competencies for completely free, but only if you know how. The biggest hack to getting really good results from your prompts is to use XML tags. These tags label your instructions. They provide additional context and engineering to tell the large language model how they are going to be searching for and interpreting data. There are a ton of tags that you can use that I will add to the description of this video. But the number one that I use is the XML tag for task, and you can do this by simply typing this at the beginning of your prompt. Open your tag, write task, close it, and then act as specialist hiring manager, or act as any skill set, role, specialist that you want the LLM to actually act as. Then you close that instruction with the same XML tag. The addition of that box tag completely changes the output of a prompt. Try it yourself. Ask a question through LLM and see what comes out. And then ask the question with this XML sandwich and just see the quality increase of the output you get from that prompt. And number 4 is another huge favorite of mine. When you're working by yourself, when you're building something by yourself, you sometimes get confirmation bias of your own thoughts or your own opinions. This addition to your prompt forces the AI to critique itself from an unbiased position. So this is a prompt that does quality control on its own output. Say you are using ChatGPT for market analysis. You can ask it to analyze the market that you exist in, the products that are already there, the competitors. But to make the output better, at the end of that prompt, I want you to ask ChatGPT, before you begin, develop an internal rubric for what constitutes a world-class market analysis. Internally iterate until the draft scores a 10 out of 10 against your rubric. This seems lengthy, but this is basically saying to ChatGPT, before you do the work, understand what good work looks like. After you do the work, check your work against your own understanding of what good is, and if it is not good enough, continue to work on it. Now you can switch out these words for whatever you are asking it to do, but this addition to a prompt will not only mean that there is an understanding of quality control before the task is done, it also means that once the task is completed, the LLM will self-criticize its own work based on the unbiased quality control surfaced. The value of the response is not only more standardized in its quality, but also the best quality for the question that you are asking. And now finally, the last one to really use prompts better is now actually a full part of most large language models. And that is making sure that you are using deep research. Now, deep research is something that we used to have to tack onto our prompts before it was built into most models. It's part of ChatGPT, it's part of Notebook LLM, but sometimes people use deep research when actually they want to use the first prompt that we spoke about in this video, which is just think hard about this. Deep research is hugely valuable. But what makes it even more valuable and puts you into that top 10% of AI users is providing your own context as well. So many people go to the drop-down deep research and just ask it to research something. Their market, their competitors, the best time to go on holiday to Spain. And it will provide a huge amount of information, which is great, but you probably don't have the time to go through all of that. And you will then have to do secondary work to understand what implications that actually has. The best way to use deep research is to use it against your own proprietary data or your own understanding. Deep research in a vacuum can bring up a huge amount of information. Information on its own is not that useful. Utilizing deep research while also giving the large language model information about your business, your context, your understanding, your data you already have, will mean that the deep research is tailored directly to what you actually need it for, not just deep research with no contextual understanding. AI, and specifically LLMs, are a huge benefit to starting a business by yourself. In fact, with every single business starter kit that I have, I give you the top tools and the top prompts that you need in order to build your own business. This video has given you an overview of things you can do now, right now, to improve your prompts and improve the outputs that you get from LLMs. Hopefully this means a reduction in frustration, a reduction in back and forth, and a huge increase of the quality of the outputs that you get from AI. But AI cannot build a business alone. The best way to build a business is to use verified systems, the correct order of operations, and then supplement this with AI and tools that will reduce your time, reduce your workload, reduce your cost, and increase your ability to focus on things that move the business forward. If you are interested in learning that, please do subscribe, check out the resources I have for free on my website, and spend a little bit of time adding these things to your prompts to see how much more useful AI can actually be.